Hey there, we have like eons of stories to tell, so if you want to follow us along on this journey and keep up with all the stories that we have putting out, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Hey, what is up everybody? Chad is here and today we're going into Injustice again. But before I start this video, I actually want to say, if you have any good DC stories for me to read, like, like whether it be Batman Rebirth or, anything of that, like along that nature and like a specific story arc, put it down in the comments because I'm not too familiar with DC. So like all the good stories, they're lost on me, okay? Marvel, I got you all day long, but DC, completely lost. But we're gonna go ahead and get into Injustice, right? So Injustice, when we last left off, Superman killed his family and the entirety of Metropolis just exploded because of the Joker, and like some stuff went on. Superman went crazy, and eventually we're like a month later, right? So a month later, pretty much what's going on is like we're just in Metropolis, like nothing's there, like there's literally nothing there. It's a desolate place now, like just completely ruined. Like there's nothing there, right? No one has been there, no one has like come out of there, nothing, right? And just like out of nowhere, right, there's this broadcast and there's these two words, "I'm alive," coming straight from the middle of Metropolis, like the ruins, right? And eventually, like while it's playing like through all the radios and all that stuff, the Justice League here, right? And the Justice League, they go in there, right? Superman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, they go in and they're trying to figure out where this is coming from. Like who is this? Who's still alive? We need to go and find that person, right? We need to go and save them. So they go there and they actually end up finding a bunker, right? There's this huge bunker, right? And they're just like looking, and Superman, he can't see through it. So what they do is they just rip the door off the hinges, right? Just rip it off, and they find Lex Luthor inside, right? Lex Luthor survived. And this isn't normally when you think of Lex Luthor, you think of the villain of Superman. This isn't him, okay? In this universe, him and Superman are actually friends. He's not a villain in this universe, he's just a really rich guy. So when that happens, we go to Batman, right? And Batman, he's basically talking to this unseen hand, like in his operations, right? Like we don't know who this person is. It's just like someone in the background, and they're basically talking about how Lex Luthor actually survived this, right? So what Luthor did is he actually had this speedster, right? And he had the speedster on payroll, right? And it's basically like paying her, basically making sure whenever there's like if there were ever like any world-ending catastrophe, like anything of that nature, get him to his bunker, right? Like get him out of there so he doesn't die, right? So when that happens, like she gets into the bunker and she just incinerates, right? She goes back out and tries to save people, and she gets incinerated by the warhead, right? So when that happens, we find Luthor. He's back at the Watchtower with the Justice League, and they're trying to figure out if they can actually trust him, right? Like Wonder Woman starts calling him out. She's like, okay, yeah, we know you're Superman's friend, like establishing that he's not the villain, like he's not a villain, right? Like basically that's what that's doing. It's basically saying like, we know you're Superman's friend. We know you know who Superman is. Y'all are friends. Y'all are cool. Stuff like that. But how can we trust you, right? And he just starts naming all of them out, right? He's like Diana Prince, Hal Jordan, Billy Batson, Barry Allen, Clark Kent. I know every single one of you guys' secret identity, but I don't let it out, right? You've been trusting me this whole time. You just didn't know it, right? Just like that, right? So he basically just earned the trust of all of them. And what he's telling them is he just wants to help. He just wants to help keep the peace, stuff like that. Basically just trying to like cozy up to them and stuff like that. So what we do is we skip ahead. And basically there's this situation where Wonder Woman had showed up to this basically war-torn country called Mogadishu. And basically what happened is like, there's like famine and fighting. It's basically a war-torn place, like there's not much going on there. And this military from this other country, they were basically like put in charge of like protecting these people, right? They have this huge campsite, and they're basically there to protect all these people. But what they have been doing is like at nights, they go into the women's camps, like do the unspeakable, and basically that's been happening for a really long time, right? Like the crying, the fear, the violence. It's just been like a constant thing in this country for the longest of times, right? So Wonder Woman, she shows up and she like takes the general, right? She takes the head guy and she like brings all of them there, right? Telling them like, y'all were charged with protecting these people, right? And y'all have not been doing that. You've been harming these people, right? So she literally kills the general on the spot, like literally just like crushes his head, right? And what happens is like from there, she makes all the soldiers put their guns down, right? Literally takes the guns, tells all the women in the camps, like literally just gives them the guns and lets them just do whatever they do, right? Like and she just leaves, right? So when that happens, she shows back up to the Watchtower, right? She shows back up to the Watchtower, and they're basically saying that Hawkgirl was taken. When they say Hawkgirl was taken, like Lex Luthor, he's just saying like, okay, I mean, Batman did it. Like Batman did it. Like there's nothing else to be said. Batman is the one that did this. This is what he would do. It's him, right? So when that happens, we actually find out Batman actually did take her. Like Batman actually did take her, right? He has her locked up, and basically what he's saying is well, he's only gonna need her for like a week, right? You know, like he's only gonna have his plan enacted, so he's only gonna have her like for like a week. But the weird part is, back at the watchtower, Hawkgirl shows up, right? But she's locked up in Batman's cave. So how is Hawkgirl here, right? Like, who is this, right? So she shows up, and what she's saying is that Batman just wants them to stop, right? Like he just wants them to stop what they're doing, right? Because like they're basically working against the world, and like whatever it's doing, they're not letting it go its natural flow, right? Like people fighting and, you know, like working things out on their own, they're forcing it, right? Like that doesn't, you know, that doesn't necessarily help the situation, because as soon as they're gone, people are going to be back at doing the same thing, right? Like it's an artificial fix to the situation, right? When that happens, like Flash and Shazam, they actually end up agreeing, right? Because Shazam, the reason he agreed is because of what happened to Black Adam. What happened to Black Adam was basically there was this situation where Superman and Wonder Woman, we actually covered this in the last video, where Superman, Wonder Woman, you know, the Justice League, they basically went and tried to stop him from, you know, destroying this country that basically fired upon Kahndaq, right? Like they fired upon Kahndaq, and Black Adam was just going ballistic, right? He was about to go and just like literally just like lay waste to these guys, right? But Superman, Wonder Woman, you know, Green Lantern, they showed up and they tried to stop him, right? So he fought him off a little bit, and they actually ended up restraining him, and they made him say Shazam, right? And it basically turned him back to Black Adam, right? Nearly killing him, right? Because he's hundreds of years old. Like Black Adam is old as hell. Like, dude is ancient. And when they did that, it basically almost killed him, right? And that actually, you know, like put Shazam on this course where he's like, he's not necessarily sure if what they're doing is right, so, but Flash, like, he's agreeing because of a different situation, like where this kid, Galaxor, he was like protesting what Superman and Wonder Woman were doing, and basically what their solution to this is to pretty much cripple him, right? And it basically, like, you know, piss Flash off, and, you know, stuff like that. Robin actually, you know, he throws it out there. He's like, okay, I mean, yeah, like Batman is doing this, right? Like he's doing this on purpose, right? Like I'm literally watching this guy like string you guys up and pretty much use you as puppets, right? Like he's playing all of you right now. He's turning y'all against each other, right? You know, stuff like that. You know, basically saying that Hawkgirl is like the weapon of Batman, right? Like sowing the seeds of doubt, right? That is what Hawkgirl came here to do, pretty much, right? So after Lex agrees, like he ends up saying, like, you know, like, yeah, we have to, you know, we have to think more before we do stuff. You know, we can't just go and do stuff. We can't just go and retaliate. You know, we can't just go and react every time something happens, because what if us reacting is just gonna bring a bigger problem, right? What if it's just gonna scare everyone instead of actually, you know, have them work with us? What if they don't want us here anymore? Like, what if what we are doing isn't the right way to do it, right? You know, just like that. So Superman, he agrees, right? Like we have to communicate more. Like we have to talk to each other. We can't just sit here and, you know, just go off and do our own thing, basically like what Wonder Woman just did. You know, stuff like that, right? Like that can't be happening. So from there, Lex Luthor, he actually ends up setting up this podium, and basically Superman is gonna give a statement. Superman's gonna give a statement, and he's basically just gonna tell everybody, don't be scared, right? Like we're here to protect y'all. We don't want to hurt anyone. Like if we scared y'all, I am sorry, right? That's not what we want. We just want you to be safe, right? And as soon as he says that, a boom tube shows up, right? And Kalibak and his army just come rushing in, killing everyone at this statement, at this hearing, pretty much, right? And literally, Kalibak, he just takes it right to Superman. Literally, the first person he goes after is Superman, right? Literally blasts him, right? And like what he realizes is, when Superman picks his head up, is he just messed up. He just made the biggest mistake he ever could have made in his life, because Superman is not about to play with this guy at all, right? He goes up and he just starts taking it to Kalibak, literally wrecking this guy, right? So when that happens, like we realize this isn't just something happening there, right? Like this is like all around the world, right? Shanghai, Moscow, like all these different places, right? Like there's boom tubes everywhere, and Kalibak's army is coming in full force, right? It's literally a full planetary invasion. So when that happens, Batman, he realizes like Gotham eventually is gonna get attacked, right? Like we have to go out there and we have to fight them off, right? And they realize Captain Atom is the only one here who can actually, fend off against these guys for like any real, measure of time, right? What they need is Superman, right? But Superman, he's Billy handing it to Kalibak, right? And what Kalibak realizes is Superman isn't gonna kill him, right? Like Superman, he's not, he's never crossed that line yet, other than the Joker. But he's not really willing to kill Kalibak at this moment in time, right? So what Kalibak does is he calls in more reinforcements, right? So him and his reinforcements, they start going into Superman, right? And he starts goading Superman, and this is the biggest mistake he could have made, right? He starts goading Superman, right? He's like, you hear this? You hear everything that they're doing, right? Like you hear the screams, you hear them crying out to be protected, right? Like for someone to help them, right? And while all that's happening, he actually sees and hears every single one of these people all around the world dying, right? And he loses it, right? Like his eyes light up and he just starts incinerating the entirety of Kalibak's army, right? Just killing all of them, right? And this is where Kalibak actually starts, losing it, right? Because he is scared. He knows if Superman just killed some of his army, he's next. And that's exactly what happens, right? He thinks that he isn't going to die. He tries to yield, right? He tries to run away. And he's like, no, you don't get to yield, Kalibak. You don't get to run. You just came here, killed thousands / millions of innocent people. You don't get to yield, right? Fight me. As soon as Kalibak tries it, Superman just pushes him, like literally just crushes this guy, right? And he just kills him right there on the spot. He is done with that. So what Superman does is he shows up to Flash, right? Because Flash, him and Superman are probably the two fastest people here. They're the only ones who can conversate fast enough for it to actually matter, like in the long run, right? So he shows up and he's saying, Barry, we need to talk real quick. And Barry, he's trying to say like this can't wait. And Superman's like, no, I can only talk to you fast enough. We have to talk right now. And basically what he's saying is, this is like the smartest thing Superman has done so far, right? What he's saying is like we shouldn't be holding back against these people who are trying to kill innocents while these innocents are dying. Like, do we care more about the people who are trying to do this or the people who are actually, the victims of it, right? It's just like that. And Barry Allen says, are you coming for my permission to kill? Because I can't give you that. And Superman's saying, is there any other way? Like, do you see any other way? Barry Allen, look at me. Do you see any other way for me to save all these people without killing this army? And Barry Allen just puts his head down and he says, no. So Superman, he takes that and he runs with it, right? Like he goes up and he just charges back down to Earth, right? Literally just charges back down to Earth as fast as he can, destroys literally every single force of Kalibak that showed up all around the world in seconds, right? Like he just flies around the world, destroying all of them, right? And Batman, he sees this, right? Like he just saw Superman commit the act that's gonna just put him on his course for complete tyranny, right? So when he goes back and he lands back at the podium, everyone is just chanting Superman, right? He just disintegrated this entire army, saved the entire world, and they love him for it, right? So if you're new to the channel, subscribe, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and I will see y'all in the next one.